And we are back on this second day of StarWest 2023. And as I warned you, menaced you, or promised you, I'm not going to be the whole star of the show. I'm not going to be interviewing only me. I have a special co host hosting the show today. So I'm getting out of the frame, leaving the show to them, and get ready for some fun. And I will let our new host introduce everything. Adios. See you later.
Hello, everybody. I'm Stacy Kirk. I'm excited to be here and get an opportunity to interview one of my favorite people in the world, Erika Chestnut. A few years ago, I reached out to her on LinkedIn. I know that's kind of creepy, but I reached out because I thought she had an incredible background similar to mine, and I wanted to know her. And over the past few years, we've built a great relationship. She's an amazing thought leader in our industry, and I'm just so happy to have you here, Erika, to talk with me today.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, our origin story.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about your origin story. And when I met you, you were already a very established leader. But tell me, how did you get into this world of QA?
Geez, there were some bribes, some dinners, some alcohol, and it was probably the alcohol that allowed me to say yes. But I actually started off in development, and before that, I was in desk side support, and people kept asking if I built built websites, and I was like, no. So I taught myself to build websites. I got into that, and I moved up in development. I became a leader of development teams, and then I started to complain about our quality.
Okay.
And I was complaining, I guess, to the right, possibly wrong people, i.e. the CEO and other executives in the company, because it was a relatively small company, and they challenged me to go fix it.
Okay.
And I eventually, again, after some bribes and clearly some alcohol, I said yes.
Those sound like good stories.
Yeah. And then I never looked back. I fell in love with building quality teams, but especially the strategy and the process of building it. And my background in development really gave me a different spin on it that a lot of people that I was encountering at the time did not have. And I've loved it ever since.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's very unique. There aren't that many people that come from development. I know I was sharing yesterday that I used to be a developer and I fell in love or fell in hate with QA enough that I wanted to spend my life doing it. When you got started in trying to fix this mammoth challenge of quality, was it helpful? How were you able to use your development background, especially in working and collaborating with other teams?
Honestly, it gave me a trust factor in the organization because I was a developer and I was a development leader, especially at that particular organization. But even when I left that organization, when I was able to sit down and, I could read the code. When developers weren't used to quality engineers, quality professionals reading code or having any knowledge of that, and something was broken, and before pair programming became a thing, or pair testing, and I would sit down and be like, well, maybe it's this right here, that's causing these these problems, and they were like, what do you know about, and right?
Yeah.
And so it almost gave me street cred, if you will, with the developers, which took away some of the tension and also allowed them to see me and my team in a different light instead of just like, oh, they're just testers, right?
Yeah.
And this was during a time when there was a lot of that. They're just testers.
Yeah.
And so that did a lot for like relationship building in the organization and really partnering with engineers early on in my career.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I fast forward to when I met you. That's when I guess the world begins, right? And you were leading a team. You're a director at Calendly.
Mm-hmm.
Share with us just in terms of your, when did you get to the point where you realized, hey, this is my passion. I have a passion around teams and people and communication. Did that happen earlier or during your time at Calendly or beyond?
Well, before I came to Calendly, I was trying to, because I was still in the early stages of becoming a leader, and I was trying to figure out what type of leader I was. Personality wise, I'm a people person. I was a military child. I grew up just learning how to quickly build rapport and connect with people. I was comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But I was told I'm too friendly with my directs. I was told that I needed to create distance. And I tried that and it was very uncomfortable. It was awkward for me. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel good. And when I got to Calendly, that I think was a pivotal time for me because they were very dialed into their core values. And it was the first organization that I had been at that was deeply dialed in to their core values. And it wasn't necessarily leadership, it was the community. It was the people in the community. And they were leveraging those core values to hold leadership accountable, to hold themselves accountable. And that was something that I had not seen before. And one of their primary core values was start with human. And I mean, the team members were really big on advocating for that. And I took that on as one of my core values because I was like, I deeply feel that. It is personal to me. Start with human, value people, look, be considerate. And it put into words something that I felt. And so being at Calendly really seeded who I wanted to show up as and me getting clarity on that. And as I did that, I began to open myself up to coaching more, saying like, I want to help you. I want to be accountable. I want to help others be accountable. And how do I do that? And as I began to do that, I guess the universe provided, right? And put people in my path that told me about things like Maxwell leadership and getting involved in that community where I then learned about DISC certification and consulting and how that helped and really tailoring that to empower quality teams because we can often be wallflowers. And so it was just all of this stuff kind of coming together that spoke to me as who I was and gave me a clearer voice. It gave me more clarity, which means I had more confidence to speak about it, which is where my clarity and confidence power framework came from.
All right. Well, you can see we have a lot of confidence because you have to have a lot of confidence to be on video with such great ears here at the Disneyland Resort. So I want to talk about your voice because when I met you, your energy and excitement and those bunny ears that you may not have had really came through. And I, at the time, had just finished doing a keynote, I believe, at StarWest, and just some other talks and seminars that I've done. And I don't know how we got on it, but I did think about you and your energy at that time and becoming a speaker. And so you hadn't spoke at that time before, right? And so for the audience, because I always feel like there are people with great stories to tell, and they just need someone to nudge them a little bit. Explain to me like your first time speaking and how that went and preparing for it and getting over the anxiety.
Oh man, that was a lot. I was in this moment of yes, and you spoke my name in a room that I wasn't in, and somebody called me and was like, Stacy said
back there, they just walked by. I said her name to she walked by it. Allison called me and I said, I know someone with great bunny ears.
And then Allison called me and I was like, yes. And I was, oh my gosh, I was beyond nervous. I was anxious. I started Googling, like, what do I do? Like a keynote, how do you prepare for this? I went down the path of, oh my goodness, it just popped out of my brain. What's the company? Everybody does the speaking. Toastmasters.
Yes, I Toastmasters. I did it.
And an amazing community, amazing program, but it's a long journey. And I was like, I've got 90 days.
You don't have much time
to do this.
Chop.
And then Facebook, I guess, the algorithm was in my head apparently, and shared with me a program called Speak with Confidence by an amazing woman, Melanie Spring. And I joined that program, and the program ended the day of my talk.
Oh, wow.
It was wild. And so I'm going through this program. I had cleared my wall. This was not a small wall. I cleared my wall, and I'm trying
to. It wasn't a crazy wall, though.
I'm going through this program. I had sticky notes all over it. And this is during that time, I met with Tristan Lombard, who is AKA Stage Mom. Yeah. And so I just leaned into the community, and I continued to work through. And there was a point where my husband and I were downstairs, our twins and our 10-year-old are bouncing around us playing, and we've taken the whiteboard off the wall and we're sitting down at the base of the stairs and we're just whiteboarding and trying to get clarity. And that is when the clarity and confidence and power, like all of those things started to surface. Like, what is my framework? What do I believe? And getting that clarity is what then allowed me to write the talk.
Okay.
Because then I said, this is what I believe. This is who I am. This is what I want to share. And I can share it in different ways. And just that clarity has driven my confidence and has improved because let me tell you, when you first spoke to me and when Allison first spoke to me, I would not be doing this right here. No. There needs to be practicing. No. We will not do live. And
but you know what I think is so amazing. Yesterday Leandros asked me, "What's your passion?" And I was like, you know what? I want people to unlock their gifts and their passions, and you blew it out the water. Like any keynote I did, you just stepped it to the next level, which is what we want. That's the great part of being able to be there and support other people in their voices. Like I want you to one up me, and I know the people that you work with and that you coach are probably going to one up both of us, right? So I want to move into now how you have taken your gifts and your strengths and all this experience, and you've launched your own business. Can you share a little bit about what that business does?
Yeah, I help people effectively communicate so that they can drive the outcomes that they're looking for with in their both their personal and professional lives. Communication, everything starts and stops with communication. And when you know how to actually read the room. I was told once in a very negative way that I should read the room and modulate my tone because some people think certain genders should be more docile and quiet. And they were right, but for the wrong reasons. It was 100% for the wrong reasons. And so now, especially with women, I want to teach them, how to do that in the quality community, very similar to how women will shrink in business. The quality community does a lot of that because we're told we're fungible, because we're told we're not as valuable, because we're told that, our efforts are anybody can do it. And so we shrink our voice, but there's so much impact that we can provide. There's so much knowledge that we have, insight that we have. If we learn how to effectively communicate it and gain that clarity on how we communicate so that we can have confidence and show up well. And so that's what I do. I coach individual quality leaders on how to show up well for their teams and how to advocate for their teams and how to grow their organization within the organization and advocate and socialize the value of quality. I help individuals, I help women in tech, and I help teams, quality teams and leadership teams better communicate so that they can fast track, so that they can get out of their own way because there's misunderstandings, right?
Yeah.
So much of that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I started to tell this story yesterday at the networking event about how my team came to me and shared, listen, Stacy, every year you set up goals, we have KPIs, but sometimes we don't understand how we need to move on those goals. What I heard was there was a communication breakdown. And so I reached out to you and I shared, I don't know. I think I'm making complete sense when I list out my goals. I don't understand why they don't understand it. But they wanted support in being able to manage up, manage down, and develop as leaders that could really execute on their company goals. And so I brought you in. And that was fun. We went to, where did we go? I brought you into Jamaica.
We went to Jamaica.
It was not the roughest place to train, right?
No. And I got the best view in the house. Man, that was glorious.
But yeah, if you can share a little, we're actually doing a tutorial in a less than probably an hour called Confident Communication Drives Powerful QA Leadership, which really came out of all of the great lessons I learned and my team learned from you. So can you kind of share a little bit about that session, what what we are offering and what you're sharing, and how it really has helped and impacted teams?
Yeah, we're offering fun.
This and it starts with the
It
ears.
starts with the ears. It starts with the ears. But we're offering to teach people how to read the room. Maybe not modulate your tone, but sometimes, depending on the people that you're communicating to, intentionally and strategically, not because you are less than or you are expected to be, but because you want to be intentional about how you are driving the outcomes through your communication. And so we're teaching people, how do you read others and what do they need to hear from you for you to get your message across? And we're doing it in a fun and engaging, on your feet way. It's not going to be your average tutorial. You might need your laptop at the very beginning for like 10 minutes, but then we're closing those and we're on our feet and we're having fun and we're learning about these different communication styles. One of the things that I love is that, talking to you, every time I talk to you, you're constantly, after that workshop, you're constantly bringing up, this is my
communication
style.
Ah.
And, I understand how my communication style empowers, but sometimes pushes away. I understand how it can stall my team or certain people. I understand how this person on my team is communicating and some of their strengths, but also some of their struggles, and how I might need to adjust. And I think as a leader, as a CEO of a company, that is so, so powerful, because communication is all about you adjusting to meet the needs of the people that are listening to you so that they can achieve what you're trying to drive as a CEO. And you've taken it and really held on to it. And every time we talk, I love hearing it. You're just like, oh, I'm a D style, and this is, I'm driving these results, but I know that I need to work with this person, this steady person this way, or I need to talk to this person this way. And it's so exciting to hear.
Yeah. And, I've done a few, a lot of people have heard or done Myers-Briggs. I did, Emergenetics is another one. But DISC sounded like someone was in my head. Like I was looking around, like, how did they know that I have that insecurity? I never told anybody that there's one insecurity of, I think people are trying to take advantage of me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very deep, shh. I didn't tell anyone except the whole world here. Why DISC?
It was the beauty of the simplicity. It is something that you can learn and easily but deeply connect with and take with you. I feel like the other ones, they're valuable. They really are. But they weren't a thing that when I did them, I walked away with the ability to understand others around me or how I can adjust in spaces. It never presented that way, but DISC did. DISC was like, it's a tool, and I'm all about a tool.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a tool in your pocket. It's that simple, but that complex, right? There's so much to it if you dig into it. And if you even just thinking on it, like, oh yeah, I could see how a D and an S can partner, but how they can have tensions and struggle. And if there's awareness, how they can break those down and really be effective partners. It's just, yeah, DISC was simple, was beautifully simple.
Yeah, I agree. 4 letters. Of course, I'm a D, so let's keep it simple. Give me 4 letters. But what's awesome about it is that you can bring it into every part of your life.
Yeah.
And it's not just at work. And it's not just kind of with your direct reports. I leverage it, and we leverage it across our company, even as we work with our clients and how they want to be communicated to. What I thought was really funny before I learned this from you is that there are people that had the same communication style as me, and I may have thought that they were, apologize for thinking this, that they just got it when other people didn't. But it was because we both shared that same communication style.
Yep.
It wasn't that the other people, well, maybe they didn't get it because of the way I was communicating. But once I realized, oh, it's not just the people that are just like me that are, on top of things. It is that I haven't broadened my perspective
Yeah.
or broadened kind of how I communicate to other people. And that just was a game changer for me. I shared with you yesterday, like, we went into our 2023 goals and KPIs. And we're, now at the beginning of October, and we're pretty much done. We've
That's
never been done.
phenomenal.
It was never been done in time. But it's the first time where I believe everyone heard it the way they needed to hear it in terms of goals. And we're just moving faster. So, what is
synergy.
what is your recommendation for leaders? The ones that can't be in our tutorial, and they want to be able to communicate better so that they can get the kind of the results, the relationships that they want. Any advice for them?
First, call me.
Okay, there we go. We've got to let them know how to do that.
Call me. Consider the person that you're speaking to and how they have shown up. How do they present information to you? And does it bother you? And if it does, is there an opportunity for you to maybe adjust your communication to meet them where they are? Maybe it's somebody that's asking a ton of questions and you're like, I don't have time for all these questions. It's too many questions. They might need a little bit more data. It's not that they're questioning you. It's just that they naturally look for the data to help them better understand, to make decisions. And if they're asking a lot of questions and you're, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for this, and then you're finding that there's a disconnect, maybe you might need to lean in on the data for them, right? So really evaluating the people that there's potentially a disconnect with. If somebody on your team is not showing up well, or there's miscommunication, or there's a ball that seems to always be dropped, or it's just some type of friction, evaluate how they're communicating, and maybe there's something that you can give them to help them. It'll be a stretch for you because it's clearly not your communication style. But if you're intentional about it, they'll see it and they'll feel it and they'll respond to it.
Wonderful. And so now for our more techie folks, because we've been soft skilling it, we've been softballing a little here.
Okay.
How do we? And I know you and I were on a panel and talking about moving faster recently, and it's one of the panels that will be free to the virtual community and attendees as well. How do organizations take all of these great lessons around communication and use them to kind of move the organization forward and do it with all of these new technologies, generative AI, all these new ways to do automation, all of the new ways developers are trying to now code? How do they bring all of that together? How does it connect? I'll say
through process.
Okay.
That's maybe not as technical as you wanted to go, but if I think about OKRs, right, as we are leading into the new year, oftentimes companies will get behind, leadership will get behind, but there's still this steps to complete OKRs, and there's some communication that needs to happen, but teams are like being told, you need to deliver your goals, you need to figure out your goals. But they're like, okay, but I'm looking up and asking for like, where do they ladder up to? And then it gets really confusing, it gets muddled because the process has been broken, right? And so I think it's really important, as we have all of these things that are becoming more available to us, access, AI, right? What is the process for how we use them, how we're accountable, how we foster that accountability, how we ensure quality in it? What is the strategy, and what is the process to implement, or the process to move through it? And if we fall out of that process, making sure that we're stopping and not just being like, well, we set that date, so you have to do that even though we're not done, or right? Like, when you think about those OKRs, it's like, well, leadership hasn't plugged their OKRs in, and now everybody's created all these goals, but they don't actually ladder up. They you can shove them in, but we really needed those at the top. and then the next leader's down. So really staying in line with like identifying what that process is,
Yeah.
and then moving forward and stopping when you're off that path and saying, okay, how do we get back on the path? Because we've created that intentionally so that
Yeah.
we can move quickly.
Yeah, and I think it's maybe not the answer people want to hear.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone wants to be like, can I just run it through like ChatGPT and like everything work fine in life? But I mean, what's so interesting, especially for those of us that have done this for a very long time,
No,
we've
me?
seen you. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
I'm a
I mean,
babe.
because you're still since high school that you got out 2 years ago. But I like to say I'm a old wise woman now.
I'm simply well seasoned.
But when I first got into the industry, I decided I would use my development skills to code everything and automate everything in testing, and then life would be perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for years I would go into any of the teams I led and be like, we are automating everything. And then quality will be there. Right. And then I realized, you know what, I cannot make quality if we never had a good process to begin with.
That
right?
foundation is so important.
And so I became a certified Scrum Master. I became an Agile coach. I built that arm of my company because
Yeah.
organizations would come to me and they would say, I want to test faster. I want you to create test automation. But it was all process that they needed.
But
they
it's
didn't.
so
Test
hard.
automation is great, but it isn't if you don't have process.
If you don't
good
have that
process.
foundation. And it's such a struggle to communicate that, or not even communicate. Clearly you can communicate it, but leaders, executive leaders,
Yeah.
they struggle to connect that because, and this is where I've recently started talking about this struggle between innovation and quality.
Okay.
And this drive to really push the product forward. But if your quality, if you are not maintaining your existing offering, a high quality in your existing offering, your innovation is, you're throwing pearls to swine, right? Like it's sitting on top of things it's an unstable foundation.
Yeah.
But it's hard for executive leaders to hear that because they have to stop. They have to go back. And a lot of organizations did not start with quality. They did not start with a good foundation around those standards for quality and those processes for quality. And so they have to change things, and it requires rework.
Nobody has time for that.
Nobody has time for that. Nobody has time for
Just
tech debt.
code it away.
Right? Like we've all kind of this word of tech debt, but a lot of times tech debt really is, I need to go back and re-architect this so I can build unit tests.
Yeah.
I need to go back and clean up this code so that I can build it as part of I can leverage a healthy pipeline and how we deliver. How do we, to get to continuous development, to get to continuous delivery, continuous testing. Yeah. But sometimes you have to take a few steps back.
And that's where communication is key. So, Erika, we are coming to kind of the end of this session. How can people reach out to you? How can they connect with you? How can they learn more about your coaching and how you train and develop teams to be ready to have these really critical conversations?
Yeah. So I am definitely on LinkedIn, Erika Chestnut, Erika with a K. And you can also check out my website, erikachestnut.com. Or you can reach me via email at erikachestnut.com.
Thank you, Erika. I am so excited that I reached out to you on LinkedIn.
Yes, me too.
Because it has sparked a friendship that I think is going to have impact even far beyond the two of us.
I'm so thankful for you.
All right. Thank you both. Thank you all for this time. Over to you.
So, hello, I'm back, and I'm just coming here to say thank you very much for being on this stream. Thank you to our special host, our special guest. And this is not over. We are just starting day 2 of StarWest 2023, and more coming soon. I promise there are more adventures and things. But for now, Leandro, señor Performo, out. Stacy, out.
Adios. All right. Bye.
Adios. Bye.
And we
don't like